What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Loop podcast. You are now in the Loop, episode 4 of the podcast. Guys, we got a lot to talk about in this one. I'm actually pretty excited because, realistically, I think we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. Um, and, the whole thing here is we're not going to stay on one topic for too long. So we're going to get you guys in and out of here. Just want to give you guys what's been on my mind this past week since the last episode was uploaded. Now, first things first, before we even jump into the episode, I got to do it. Like the video, subscribe to the podcast. Make sure that you guys are sharing this video with your friends, family, coworkers, and anybody else who just needs to hear something. Maybe they can relate to it. Maybe they have the same thoughts as me. So make sure you go ahead and you share this podcast with them. After you subscribe, make sure you hop into the comments. Let me know your thoughts on the pod, the episode. If you relate to me, if you don't relate to me, let me know. I want to hear it all, whether it's here on YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram, because that's where we post our short form clips. Let me know, because I'm so interested in hearing your guys' thoughts. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump straight in to the first podcast topic. But again, welcome to the Loop Podcast, episode 4. Thank you all for joining. Let's have ourselves a great episode. Now, the first thing I do want to talk about is the Knicks have officially made it to the NBA Finals. And the first thing I got to say is New York may genuinely burn down if the Knicks somehow win the finals. I've got to say that. It's actually incredible. But the Knicks have won 11 straight playoff games. They've become only the 4th team ever to do that in a single postseason. Their average margin of victory is 23.7 points per game, and all but one win has been by double digits. So they've really been putting belt on everybody over the entire postseason. I believe all of their closeout games they have won by a huge margin, including the one which was by like 45 plus points. I think it was like 51 to be exact. I think it was 51. But yeah, their offense has shifted entirely from their regular season play. They began playing like less isolation ball, leaning into pace and movement and spacing, also kind of solidifying their defensive identity. They've been doing a lot of switching and emphasizing, effort, right? So that's not something that we kind of saw from them early in the year or even like halfway close to the end of the season. But this pivot in the postseason has been excellent for them. So it's actually a really good sign that, Mike Brown in his first year with the Knicks, there were so many questions early in the season if he was the right fit. And now we see him playing an excellent brand of, coaching up this team to play an excellent brand of basketball. So it's been very, very good to see the Knicks kind of balling out the way they have. But another thing that I do want to highlight that I feel like maybe goes unnoticed is how they've been using Karl Anthony Towns. Realistically, the offense has kind of been flowing through him a little bit, and that's helped them a lot. One thing that I've noticed is while he isn't the primary playmaker, he is having the ball in his hands to make more decisions. He's averaging 5.9 assists in the postseason, up from 3.0 in the regular season. So I think that plays a big part. Having him be a playmaker, a decision maker, is helping the offense kind of move at a different pace, right? Like having the ball in someone other than Jalen Brunson's hands is also beneficial. So teams don't always know what to expect coming down the court, right? So that's been a good thing to see. Now I gotta end this segment with a question. Can the Knicks win the NBA Finals? I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments below. So let me know what you guys think. Now we're going to shift and we're going to talk about the Western Conference because the Spurs and Thunder series has been absolutely incredible. When the Spurs win, they win pretty dominantly. And when the Thunder win, some people may not like to say that they've done it in, ethical ways or whatever the case is. But, the Thunder have, for the most part, been without AJ Mitchell and without Jalen Williams for a good chunk of this, series, and they're up 3-2. So we're recording this on Thursday evening, right? So Game 6 is technically going to happen the same day that I'm recording this, so a day after that this is posted. So again, take what I say with a grain of salt. And just remember that this is more of a prediction that I'm making more than factual, um, actual factual gameplay that I've watched and I'm recapping, right? So just remember that. Um, but realistically, for game six, um, I'm going to predict that the Spurs win this one. Why? Because of the fact that, first off, they are at home, and it's a closeout game for OKC. The Spurs are going to have to give it their all to extend the series to a game seven, and no team has won 2 games in a row. So that's something to keep an eye on. If I'm not mistaken, I hope I'm not mistaken when I say that. But let's double check because from what I remember, in this series we've had, I believe it was the Thunder winning game one, or the Spurs winning game one, and then them kind of flip flopping over the last few days. So let's see, just to make sure. So the Spurs won game one, Thunder won game two. Sorry, the Thunder have won 2 games in a row. That was when they took the 2-1 lead. So, yeah. But again, realistically, I just do think that the Spurs are going to give it their all today. And, realistically, without having guys like Jalen Williams, who is questionable, but I highly, highly doubt he's actually going to play. Um, that's going to hurt them a little bit, and obviously no AJ Mitchell, so that's gonna sting too, right? Like they've had to deal with that the entire series basically. So it'll be interesting to see, but again, I'm going to go out and predict that the Spurs win game six, and then game seven will be this weekend, and I'm going to go out and say that the Thunder advance in a very, very close game. I'm going to even say that the game goes to overtime. Um, for game seven, and the Thunder advance to face the New York Knicks in the 2026 NBA Finals. So let me know what you guys think about the series. Who you think is going to win game seven, game six, if it goes to game seven, I guess. And let me know. Again, these are predictions that I'm making the day of the game. So it's a little bit difficult to give you guys a full recap, full picture of what my thoughts are. I just want to make sure that you guys kind of have an understanding of where my thoughts are at. And, next week we'll talk about it. Obviously, next week when the new episode drops, we'll be talking about the NBA Finals. So we can recap the Thunder Spurs series then, and hopefully you guys interact with me in the comments, and then we can have some discourse. So looking forward to that.
Ladies and gentlemen, I mentioned earlier, right, that we were potentially going to do a game six post game reaction to the Thunder and Spurs game, right? Because we talked about it earlier. So it was kind of difficult to genuinely get you guys, a recap of the game, right? So I wanted to do this, and we're going to throw it in right. Obviously, if you guys are watching, you're seeing this right after I make my prediction, which in my prediction, I said that the Spurs are going to take care of home court, and they are going to win game six to force a game seven in this series. We also mentioned that Jalen Williams wasn't going to, we weren't sure if he was going to play. He was questionable. But, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, we've got the two best words in sports coming up this Saturday, and that is a game seven between the San Antonio Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder. It will be in OKC. The Spurs put absolute belt to ass, and I mean belt to ass today. They won the game by 27 points. They came out of the first quarter firing, dropping 35 points, had a 13-point lead after the first quarter. Although the Thunder kind of came back, they kept it interesting, got it down to, I believe it was 7 at halftime. So relatively close game. And then in that third quarter, the Spurs kind of really just took over. They outscored the Thunder 32-13. And that is obviously not going to get the job done if you are the Oklahoma City Thunder. So definitely was I did not expect necessarily a 27-point win for the Spurs. I did expect them to win, but not by 27. So, what this means for game seven is realistically, the Spurs brought back, the Thunder brought back Jalen Williams, who only played 10 minutes, came off the bench, had 1 point, one shot attempt. He only made, his points came from the free throw line. Didn't really do too much. Uh, One assist, two turnovers, and a foul. They took him out of the game, assuming because of the fact that, the game was out of hand and they don't want to risk him, potentially ruining or setting him back with that injury again. Because if you guys didn't know, the hamstring injury that he was out for the last few games is actually the same hamstring that he had injured previously, um, and missed time for. So they're definitely being a little bit more cautious with him and taking him out once the game got out of hand, which was smart. But ultimately, I do feel like they might have been better off just resting him. There's no guarantee that you can win a game seven, but getting the extra couple of days of rest, I feel like is more beneficial. But at least he was able to test it in a game setting and now really see what he can do. So heading into game seven, Jalen Williams should be available. AJ Mitchell, we don't know. He could potentially be available in game seven as well. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Obviously, we won't be doing a podcast or an update for that, but we'll talk about game seven and then more of the NBA finals in next week's episode. But, looking at the Thunder, right? Just looking at the box score itself, Lou Dort was trying to build a house today, apparently. 2 for 11 from the field, 1 for 9 from three. Jared McCain didn't really help out in that sense either. 4 of 11 from the field. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, 6 of 18 from the field, 0 of 5 from three. My goodness. Chet Holmgren had 10 points on 4 of 8 shooting. He had 11 rebounds. But I'll be honest with you guys. I am very, very disappointed in Chet Holmgren. This entire series, he has left me very disappointed. He only scored his highest point scored in this entire series was 16 points. I really do feel like sometimes the Thunder maybe aren't getting him the ball enough, but all other times I feel like he isn't aggressive enough when he does have the ball. He is a 7-1, 7-2. He can shoot the three, space the floor. And especially when they have Hartenstein there, who isn't really a floor spacer, having Chet on the floor, that should allow, them to kind of space the floor a little bit better, get some better shots. But I think Chet needs to be more aggressive. Like I said, only scoring over 15 points one time throughout these 6 games of the series. I'm very disappointed in his play. I think when you look at the other side, Victor Wembanyama takes it personally, right? Like he doesn't want to lose to the Thunder and Chet Holmgren, and he goes out of his way to make sure that he performs. And Chet Holmgren, I just think he's not playing as aggressive as he should, as hard as he should, as passionate as he should be. And it's disappointing. He's a guy that's going to be making $40+ million over the next few seasons with that big contract extension. And realistically, I don't necessarily see him being worthy of that, right now. I don't think he's making, that much of an impact offensively. I mean, again, we're talking about them missing AJ Mitchell as being more, of an impactful thing for them than having Chet Holmgren on the floor, So it's like, realistically, I need to see Chet Holmgren more aggressive. And the other thing for the first few games of the series was like seeing him shy away from the matchup against Victor Wembanyama. You should go at him, right? Like if you have the opportunity to guard him, give it your all. And I'm just not seeing that sense of competitiveness from Chet Holmgren right now. So I'm disappointed in that and his play throughout the first 6 games of the series. Shea has had a tough time this entire series against them, shooting relatively poorly. But again, at the end of the day, I know that they know Shea is kind of the motor, right? He has to get his shot to fall, get to his spots, get to the free throw line, and that makes it hard for the other team to win. By them putting a lot of pressure on Shea and him struggling from the field, obviously that makes their team their chances a lot better. So the Spurs, hats off to the Spurs for really making it difficult on Shea throughout this entire series. But yeah, if the Thunder have Jalen Williams in game 7 and possibly AJ Mitchell, I think it's going to be a really good battle. Them being healthy, being able to go at it in a do or die game 7, I'm really looking forward to it. But now, before I make my predictions on Game 7, I just have to highlight some of the stats and stuff from the Spurs side of things. Wemby, 28 points, 10 rebounds. Doing what he does. He had 3 blocks, two steals. I mean, stuffing the stat sheet right there. De'Aaron Fox had a terrible game. 5 points from in 26 minutes, 1 for 9 from the field, 0 for 3 from three. Did have 5 rebounds, 7 assists, but again, just not doing necessarily much offensively for you. Devin Vassell, 12 points, 4 of 7 from three. Stephon Castle, 17 points, 5 of 10 from the field. Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper is truly making a name for himself. He's a rookie, and he is performing incredibly well throughout this entire postseason, and especially during this series against OKC. I'm very impressed with him. 18 points off the bench, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. He's been playing excellent, so I expect that to continue. Now, as we look ahead to Game 7 on Saturday night, as I mentioned before, the 2 best words in sports, right? Game 7. So I'm super excited for that. I know what I will be doing Saturday night. Getting, a really comfortable seat and watching this game, being locked in on this game. And so that way I can make sure that when next week comes, we can give you guys a good recap of Game 7 of this series. But, I'm going to say that OKC wins Game 7 in Oklahoma City, and the reason I'm leaning with them is because of the fact that, one, it is in OKC, and two, I think these guys kind of just understand like what it takes to win a Game 7 at this point. Uh, Obviously last year, they almost lost in the NBA Finals. I mean, realistically, I think they could have lost in the NBA Finals if Tyrese Halliburton doesn't get hurt. Um, but again, I just think that they have a good understanding of what they need to do to win this game. So I'm just gonna have to say that ultimately this is a team that you know they have that poise, they have that level of maturity. I just think we need to see some guys get more aggressive, like a Chet Holmgren. I think if Jalen Williams is back, he has struggled a bit, but I think he has to figure something out as to how he can contribute to the team offensively, defensively, whatever, to really kind of be impactful for them. So you know, this is it's gonna be fun. I'm super excited. I just think, like I said, these guys are gonna step up when they need to, and for that reason, I'm leaning with the Thunder. But at the same time, if the Spurs come out on top in Game 7, it doesn't surprise me either. But I am gonna go with my gut, and I'm gonna say the Oklahoma City Thunder take Game 7 at home and advance to the NBA Finals and face off against the New York Knicks. So that is my prediction for Game 7. Those are my reactions to Game 6, and I hope you guys kind of like this. Adding this post-game reaction because I want to make sure that you guys kind of get the full picture here. So when you're watching this now on Friday, when this episode drops, you guys know that, hey, he didn't just talk about a prediction and then doesn't follow up for a week. Now we're completely out of that series. We talked about Game 6 and made the predictions for Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. And before we go, really quickly, I have to highlight this, right? The last time that we saw a Game 7 in the Western Conference Finals was in 2018, the Rockets and Warriors matchup. The reason I bring that up is because that was the infamous matchup where Chris Paul didn't play due to a hamstring strain, and the Rockets missed 27 straight three-point attempts. James Harden was 12 of 29 from the field, 2 of 13 from three, and they shot overall 7 of 44 from the three-point line. And, yeah, um, that was a crazy time. So obviously, you look a few years later, or what is it? 8 years later now, we have the first Western Game Seven in the Western Conference Finals in 8 years. So it's not something that has happened very frequently. So be excited. Make sure you guys tune in on Saturday, and yeah, so we're gonna call it. So now we're gonna go back to the regular program episode of the Loop Podcast, and I hope you guys enjoyed this post game reaction.
The next thing I want to talk about is this past week was Memorial Day, you know, and, I had some free time over the weekend, spent some time with my friends, and we made a trip to, we grabbed some food and then made a trip to the cigar lounge, right? I'm not a big cigar smoker, right? I've done it occasionally. One time I've done it was on the beach in Puerto Rico. Another time I've done it, I think, was maybe after my college graduation. So it's not something that I do very frequently at all. Um, so just want to say that to preface, right? So the first thing I got to say is, when you get older, right? Like I'm closer to 30 than I am to 20, right? I'm going to be 28 later this year. And the one thing I could say is this, right? Making time to spend with your friends, while it is hard as an adult because everyone has their separate lives and so many things to do, it is so crucial because the time you get to spend with your friends, your boys, is it really does um, kind of help out. And you look at it and you really reflect on it later, and it's like, man, it's always nice to kind of hang out with your friends and spend some good quality time. So we went to the cigar lounge, smoked a couple cigars, watched some of the basketball games going on. And the first thing I did when I got home, though, was jump in the shower immediately because I cannot stand how strong the smell of cigars really is. It's actually insane how strong the smell of cigars is. But, if you got a good cigar, man, I'll tell you, it's a hell of a time. Just kind of talking with your friends for a little while, you know, we were able to chop it up and just enjoy some quality time. And again, going back to that, having that time, especially when, for example, you have a girlfriend or a significant other, having that time with your friends is always nice to have too, just to have that, that time for yourself, or also just having that moment of, you know, you kind of just get to relax. And not that you can't do that with your significant other, but, just being able to maybe kind of turn things off and then just let everything kind of come, right? So um, we ate and we kind of just didn't want to call it a day. And we said, we're going to go to the Scar Lounge, and we sat there for a few hours. And next thing you know, time flies by, right? But, you know, not having a plan, not having to, figure anything out, just going there, letting time fly. And he's like, damn, look at the time now. Like it's been a few hours. All right, call it a night. So that was a really good time. So just had to like let you guys know, spend time with your friends, spend time with your significant others, obviously as well. But always make sure that you guys spend some time with your friends as an adult, because it does get harder. But you definitely do cherish that time a lot more than when you were younger. That's for sure. Now, the next one is a quick topic change, but I have to ask you guys. So when I was talking to some of my friends, right, I said I was going to get a haircut. They said, again? Really? Didn't you just get one? And I said, no, I got one. I get a haircut every other week. So twice a month, right? Two haircuts a month. I feel like is fair, right? Um, some of my friends don't think that is, that's too much, right? So I have to ask you guys, how often should you get a haircut, right? Because obviously you guys see my hairstyle, right? Like I have a beard, so I want to keep that maintained. I have a mid fade, shorter hair on top. Um, but I just like to keep myself cleaned and maintained. So you guys tell me, is getting a haircut twice a month or every other week too much? Because sometimes I feel like I could go get a haircut every week, realistically. But let me know what you guys think on that one, because I'm very interested to hear what you guys think on that. Now, as I mentioned, this past week was Memorial Day weekend. So now I got to talk about this because this past weekend Sueños came to Chicago, right? If you don't know what Sueños is a Spanish, you know, music festival here in Chicago, downtown. And, I think watching stuff like that I've seen on Instagram or even Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter to me. Um, but seeing videos, it genuinely has made me realize just how old I really am when it comes to festivals. The last time I went to a festival was, I think, in 2023, which was Sueños, I believe. Um, so in those 3 years, though, I feel like I have aged so much. The last time I went, it was 20. I was 24. My body afterwards was in pain, right? Like it's a 2 day festival too. So think about it. You're out in the sun all day, walking around and just dealing with the crowds and everything like that. It's such a stressful time. And realistically, man, like I think at 28, 27, that's when I'm like, man, I can't do it. I just cannot do it. You know, also seeing these videos too, like people are fighting and arguing and it's over the stupidest stuff, also because alcohol is involved. So when that happens, then things get a little bit more um, you know, aggressive sometimes, or people get more argumentative and things like that. So, you know, I don't know. Just I feel like I'm too old for it at this point. Like what I do like to do now is I like concerts, right? Like I like concerts a lot. In the last few years, I went to a bunch. I've seen The Weeknd a couple times. I've seen Travis Scott. I've seen, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we're gonna go see Don Toliver. If that happens, you guys will be getting a review. Don Toliver has been one of my favorite artists for the last few years now, and super excited to see him. Hopefully we can get some reasonably priced tickets here in Chicago. But again, I think concerts are just the better environment for me because it's a little bit more controlled, right? Like I go to my seat or I go to my area and that's it. I don't got to worry about, walking around the whole time, being outside in the sun all day. Yeah, you're going to deal with maybe some people, younger crowds or whatever the case is, but it's a little bit more of a controlled environment. So it feels a little bit less chaotic, right? So I enjoy that, just being in that environment more than a festival at this point. So I don't know. I just had to ask you guys, what do you think? How old is too old to be going to festivals? Um, or at least to be feeling like you shouldn't be going to festivals anymore. Really interested in hearing your guys' thoughts on that one. Now, got a couple more segments for you guys. Like I said, we're not going to hold you guys for too long in this episode, right? Just had to get some things off my chest. But now, speaking of getting things off my chest, I got to tell you guys what pissed me off this week. So this week, right, I get a little light on my dashboard, right? And it says left brake lamp malfunction. So that means my left brake light's out. I think, cool, not a problem. Let's just go replace the bulb, right? So go to my trunk, take off, get to the tail light, take off the pieces to get to the tail light. I realize, there's not really anything for me to change there. Um, I'm thinking maybe there's a way to get actually inside the tail light, right? Like there's a cover or something. Start unscrewing, the back of the head or tail light housing. My car has the tail light itself is the light. There's no bulb to replace. There's nothing to replace. So basically, the entire tail light works, the turn signal, the reverse light, the running lights, but the brake light itself, that part of the light is out. There's no fix other than buying an entirely new housing, right? So I call my dealership just to get an estimate, right? The housing alone, just to do that, get a brand new one from the dealership, is $700 for one singular taillight housing. When I tell you guys, couldn't hang up the phone faster. That pissed me off bad. That was like, that genuinely ruined my entire day. Because then guess what? later on that day, I got another light on there that said rear brake pads, replace soon. So now I got to fix my brake pads and I got a taillight to replace. So when it rains, it pours. And I'm sure you guys know this. When it comes to fixing your car, keep that maintenance up because you definitely do not want things to get worse, right? Like I see that message for brake pads. Definitely got to go get that done because brake pads are essential, right? Having bad brakes means you stop soon later. God forbid, accident happens. Don't want that to happen, right? So got to get that fixed. Got to get that tail light replaced. Um, so now I'm just trying to find a reasonably priced replacement or debating if I completely swap out my taillight set and go for something a little bit more fun, right? So in my car. So we will see, but that definitely pissed me off this past week because again, one thing after another, right? And then on top of that, $700 for a taillight? Brother, are we serious here? It's insane. Can't believe it, man. Um, but anyway, I digress. Now, the next thing I do want to talk about are just some things on a lighter note, what I'm looking forward to this week. So, um, my girlfriend was away, spending some time with family over the Memorial Day weekend. So now she's back and spend some time with her this upcoming weekend. And one of the things that we definitely want to go do is we're going to go watch Passenger. This has been like the year of horror films, and I feel like every week that I'm talking about a movie outside of like the Michael Jackson movie with you guys, it's been a horror movie. I mean, think about it. You got Hokum, you got The Mummy, you got Obsession, and I think there was one more that I can't remember right now, but we got all of those. And The Passenger is another one that we're going to add to the list. And I'm super excited for this one. I've seen great reviews on it, from the early screenings and stuff like that. So definitely looking forward to watching that one. Also, this upcoming weekend, the season finale. Apparently, they're calling it not the series finale, but the season finale of Euphoria is dropping on Sunday. Um, while I do think season 3 has been all over the place, and um, I haven't necessarily been the biggest of fans of season 3 of Euphoria, I'm already 7 episodes deep. I'm gonna finish it off, and then we'll go from there. We'll probably review it and talk about that on the podcast next week as well. But there's that. I do also need to finish The Boys. Hope to do that by the end of this week too. I think I'm on episode 7 on that one, and there's 8 in the season. So, and that's the series finale. So I'm actually super excited for that one because The Boys has been one of my favorite shows since it came out years ago, and it's finally coming to an end, and I'm excited. So bittersweet because again, it has been one of my favorite shows, but it's coming to an end. So we're gonna probably watch that this week, review it for next week's podcast episode 5. We'll talk about that. Euphoria, Passenger. We'll talk about all that, NBA Finals, all that good stuff. But I'm trying to also think what I'm looking forward to the rest of this week. I would say, this Thunder Spurs series. Definitely gonna keep my eyes on that. Tonight's Game 6, or as you guys are watching it. Yesterday was game 6, so hopefully there's a game 7 that I can really be looking forward to and watching that. And then the NBA Finals starting. I believe that the schedule was released, and it is officially starting on June 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. So keep an eye on that, and that'll be fun to watch. What else? What else can we be looking forward to? Um, yeah, I do think that's probably it. So, guys, like I said, I wasn't going to keep you guys long. This is probably the shortest episode that we've dropped of the podcast. And, you know, who knows what maybe we'll do is we'll talk about, if I work today as well. So if all goes well, maybe if I got time when I get home from work and I'm not too tired, maybe we drop a reaction video to game 6 and we'll add that to this. And that'll be really cool. Maybe that's something we could possibly do. We'll see. A quick, addition to it. Nothing too crazy. But that's something that I'm thinking about possibly doing. We'll toss that in here. and add a game 6 reaction. Maybe that's something that we can do. But again, we'll do that if it's not too late and we got some time for it later today, because by the time that game is done, it'll probably be 10:30, 11 o'clock. So then coming home from work. So it will be a little bit of a challenge, but we'll see what we can do for you guys. Other than that, guys, we're going to call that an episode. So thank you all for tuning into episode 4 of the Loop podcast. You are now in the loop and giving you guys the scoop. And we talked about a bunch of different things in this week's episode. What I'm looking forward to, what's pissed me off. We're too old for festivals, getting haircuts, how frequently we should get haircuts, spending time with your boys, NBA playoffs. What more can you want, right? So let me know what you guys want to hear outside of the couple of topics that I prefaced for next week's episode. If you guys have any ideas, things that you want to hear me talk about, let me know in the comments below. I need you guys active in there. If you don't see your name in the comments below, whether it's here on Instagram or YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram, you're doing it wrong. So make sure that you guys are active in those comments so you guys can let me know what you guys want to hear, what you guys want to see. That would be really, really helpful for me too. So I want to make content that is catered towards you guys, because you guys are the ones watching and spending time watching the podcast, supporting the podcast. So I want to make sure that we are doing everything possible to make sure you guys are satisfied with the content that we are giving you here at the Loop podcast. Now, before we go, you guys know I got to do it, right? No, I got to do it. So once again, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are on the episode, on the topics we talked about. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok. That's where we post all the short form content there. So that way you can stay up to date. And if you don't got, like this episode is about 25 minutes long. If you don't got 25 minutes to watch the full pod, guess what? I know you got a minute or two. Check it out. Reels, TikTok videos, all that stuff. We got it all there for you guys. So thank you guys again for supporting the podcast. Thank you for watching episode 4. We will catch you guys next week on the Loop podcast. Peace.